Hello and welcome back to another popcorn chat. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video I'm going to be speaking to you about the latest musical adaptation, Wicked. Maybe you're a fan of the musical like myself and you've been waiting for this film adaptation for years now and it's finally happened, or maybe you've just been introduced to the world of Wicked. I think a lot of people have fallen in love with these characters and the world built within this film. As a fan of the musical itself, I was sceptical going into this because I was worried what they would do with the world building and the characters and who they would cast in those roles. Because when you think of the musical, you have a clear kind of image in your head of who is singing that. So yeah, I was a little bit sceptical. However, I think I was very much proved wrong. I think the casting was great in this film. I think everyone did a really good job. I think, Ariana Grande brought a lot of humour to the role, which is there on the stage production as well. So I think the vocals were great. I think the humour was on point. So I think they did a really good job in that. In the world we live in, where blockbusters are heavily relying on CGI, Wicked Part 1 definitely falls victim to that. There's a lot of elements which are handcrafted, from the school to the costumes, but certain elements, beyond the school and shiz, which are very CGI enhanced, did feel a little distracting to me. I think they could have maybe gone a little bit further on the set designs and just made those from scratch, and it would have really felt a lot more tangible in this world. On top of that, a lot of people were talking about the lighting and the colour grade of this film, and I have to agree with that. I think it felt very desaturated, clearly a world that's very colourful, and the fact that one of the characters' skin is green and the other character wears a lot of pink, I thought it would have popped a lot more. So the choice of colour grading felt very grounded, which, might have worked in a very human related film, but this isn't, this isn't this world, unfortunately. So I thought they could have just gone to town and just really made those pop. And on top of that, I think the lighting as well was way too grounded as well. I think the use of windows and then having those kind of overexposed was a little bit distracting and didn't really add to the magical elements I was expecting from the vision of this film. So for me, yeah, that was one of the main negatives, was the lighting and the grade. I'm not sure how they made it 2.5 hours. Every song's in there that would be there in part 1 of seeing the show. I think there's just a lot more dialogue added in there. There's a few things that aren't in the show that they've added for details that kind of, wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the original or to part 2, which I'm so excited to see next year. I just wish, of course, this was one film rather than 2, but they're just making it 2 films for money, of course. But I think everyone did a great job. I think musically, choreography, humour, it's all there really. It's what you see in the stage production, but I do think the vocals and the way in which it's presented on stage is much better. So if you can go and see the show and you haven't already, go and see it now, because you won't be disappointed. It's one of my top 3 musicals I've ever seen. So yeah, it's always going to have a special place in my heart. And yeah, I was generally pretty happy with this film. As musical adaptations go, it was decent, but Hairspray will always be my number 1. If you've seen Wicked Part 1, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to check those out. And are you excited for Part 2? Because I know I am. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon in another popcorn chat.